we see half of the work is now done by AI, right? On 500,000 tickets in just a couple of months.
If you've ever bought something on the internet, like e-commerce, and then you had to reach out to the brand, whether you wanted a return, a refund, cancellation, or just tracking information like where's my order, you know how frustrating it's been, because usually you have to wait at least 24 hours and usually a lot longer than that. So in this video, I'm going to explain exactly how I built AI agents. So basically just software that's automating basically half of these tickets for hundreds of Shopify brands, exactly how we built it, why brands want to use this technology, and how it benefits them and both their customers.
Okay, so here we are in analytics. Merge Labs, this is my agency where we help businesses, agencies, kind of companies implement AI, right? So if we look into this, 481,000 emails have gone through the system since when we started tracking this, so kind of mid-March. There's a bunch that came in before this, but they aren't in this dashboard. So yeah, we're actually quite a bit over 500,000 now, but just for the sake of the video, basically 500,000 emails have gone through the system, right? Of those, 49%, so basically half of the emails were automatically sent through this AI system, right? So for the hundreds of brands that are in this, every 1 and 2 emails is automatically sent. Nobody touches it from any team, right? That's crazy. I'm very proud of that. Message is ready. So when a brand comes in and they have SOPs, they don't want the AI automatically doing everything, right? Which is why you see flagged at 36% here. Flagged means that the email came in and the AI decided, I'm not even going to try and handle this, right? And 35% is actually quite high, because the AI, if brands let it do everything, this would be closer to like 10%, 20%, right? But people are still kind of concerned, right? If you run a big brand, you're a little bit worried about letting AI automatically refund stuff, even if you're confident in it, just because the cost benefit, right? If it starts making mistakes, you accidentally refund even 1 or 2 or a couple orders, you can't reverse that process. And then the customer, it's just weird, right? So people just don't like using it to its full potential because of that, which when you go and implement AI and businesses and all of these systems, you're going to realize this come up quite frequently, right? And in this case, I understand, right? I know we could get it very close to 100%, but I don't push it. It's completely up to the brand, but we make it clear that that opportunity is there if they'd like to take it. So yeah. Now the difference between these two is about 75,000 emails. So the difference, like the 75,000 in here, the response was automatically generated, but it didn't fully automate the process, right? Again, for the same kind of reason. Like maybe sometimes the brand will like it to draft the entire refund email, but they don't actually want it to process it. So they just leave it as one click. So the brand's customer service agent goes in, they see this ticket, they're like, oh, I need to refund it. They go refund, go back to Gorgeous or Zendesk and just click send, because the AI has already written the email, right? So as you can see, massive volume obviously is providing a ton of value, and because of that, making quite a lot of money. So I'll show you this in practice, and then we'll talk about kind of how I built it. And yeah. Okay, so here we are in Gorgeous, which if you're not familiar with Gorgeous, it's customer service for mostly Shopify brands, but just e-com brands in general, right? Just a CRM to manage all of the e-tickets. We also use Zendesk, but I'll show here. So there's a bunch of brands in here. I'm going to have a bunch of this blurred just not to give out any information about customers or brands, but pretty common. Good morning, trying to find out where my package is. Haven't received any other notification and not sure what could get delivered delivery date as per attachment means. Please let me know, right? And then they send the order status. So if we swipe through here, you'd see the order number. Okay, and then here's what the AI does. So it automatically drafts response, good morning, which is their name, or at least the name they told us. I apologize for any confusion caused by the message. Your order, and then what it is, has been successfully fulfilled. The current tracking status is info received, which indicates that the shipment information has been received. You can track it here since the tracking link. Please note that the delivery date will generally be updated when the package reaches a local sorting center. It's common to experience some delay while in transit to the sorting center. All true information. Rest assured, further updates will be available through the tracking link, right? So this thing called test mode, it explains the logic that the AI went through to get to that conclusion, right? And when we were first going through this, sometimes AI would go wrong and we couldn't figure out why. So I built in this system where we could see everything that was going on behind the scenes. So the logic, the customer, and the reason this is so important and why this problem is so hard to solve, it's because some brands are a little stingent on what they do, right? They won't let you cancel it or they won't give you a refund, right? And AI will always try to do, like, will always try and make the customer happy because that's how it was designed to think, right? So now when you are asking the AI to do something that doesn't feel natural, it is very hard to make it follow that consistently, right? And not start hallucinating what the SOPs and the policy that we gave it to follow say, right? And if you just have one brand and you're building a great solution for that one brand, then you can do it really well and make it follow pretty easily. But in this system, for example, when we've had 300 plus brands inside of it, and a brand has to be able to come in, automatically be set up within minutes and have it running, it ends up being very complex to build the system where you can just pass it the SOPs and policy and it follows it perfectly, or as close to perfect as possible, right? Which you figured out, but it was quite hard. But this helped a lot. So thought the customer is inquiring about the status of the order, blah, blah, blah. However, the tracking status is info received and hasn't been updated for 6 days. Right? Reflect according to the SOPs. If the customer inquires about the status of the order, we should provide them with the tracking information. Estimated shipping times are 7 to 21 business days. Conclusion, and then it basically just repeats the same thing, right? This is a very simple case, but they obviously get significantly more complex. The tracking number, info received, tracking URL, reassure the customer, and then obviously you saw it draft out the final response and send this over to the customer, right? So this white background one means that it was automatically sent, right? So this email was sent to the customer. Also, let's look at the times. So the customer sent this at 11:50 p.m., right? The AI generated the response at 11:51, so a minute later, and then it sent it 5 minutes later, right? We had a little bit of a delay, just to be a little more human. So it sent the email. And then if we look at the new response from the customer, so a little bit later, the next day, hi, Annie, thanks for the update, appreciate it. I wasn't sure if they meant and tried to deliver it, but couldn't. Thanks again. AI follows up again. You're most welcome. Here's a link just in case. If there's anything else, feel free to reach out. Right. So this is a pretty good idea how it works. Yeah. Okay. Here's one more good example because I think it's a pretty good kind of, tracking is pretty simple, but what happens when it gets complex? Hello, I incorrectly ordered these products. Can you please cancel and refund? Right. A lot of brands don't just directly do that. So, hi, Sue. Thank you for reaching out to us. I'm sorry to hear about the mix up. Unfortunately, as per our policy, we can't cancel orders once they've been placed. I apologize for the inconvenience. Once the order is delivered, please don't hesitate to reach out to us again and we'll be happy to assist because at this point, most brands will refund, right? Thank you for your understanding and patience. Warm regards. So then we scroll down again, the AI, which is gorgeous bot, logic. Sue asked to cancel according to the SOPs. We must check the status, right? So in the background, all the agents are working together. The order was just placed. It still hasn't been fulfilled, right? The SOPs clearly state cancellations are not allowed once the order's been placed. So that's where it comes to the conclusion that it's sent her, right? You can see the AI automatically sends it. She says, thank you. Can you please advise your returns and policy and procedure, right? Okay. Hello, Sue. Thanks for getting back to us. I completely understand your situation. Since your order hasn't been delivered, we're unable to process a return once it arrives. We basically can. Just to give a heads up, we have a 90-day return policy. Yeah. Test mode, same thing, right? Automatically sends it out. She says, thank you. Hopefully all will be good when I receive my order, right? Right. So here the AI flags it because it can't do anything. It's just sitting here waiting. Team reaches out, right? Basically says your order's being shipped. She says, thank you. And then the AI follows up now because there's a link available and says, here's where you can track your order. Just like that. So this is how the AI works. Hopefully, it gives a pretty clear picture. So let's dive into how this actually works and how I built it out. So first, you kind of need to break down what they're asking, right? So the first step I do is break it down by, does functionality need to be done by somebody, right? So if it's a refund, somebody needs to go through and do that refund, right? This is one case here, or cancellation or any of that stuff. The other case is where nothing needs to be done, right? They say thank you. They ask a frequently asked question where you already have the FAQs for that. You don't need to do any other functional logic, right? So there's a step in here which figures out which one of these it is, right? Using only a little bit of all the available data. Because again, if you use all of it, it will fall apart. And the other reason you can't just do everything in one step is because if a customer asks for a refund, but the policy says, "Oh, we don't refund until we have proof that it's not damaged and all that stuff," the AI will always jump if given the ability to refund them right away because it wants to do the right thing, right? That's how it's built. So you really have to break this stuff down into its own little pieces. So by the time you get to this point, you either have one branch here where it's basically just automatically sending out the email because nothing needs to be done, or it's just complete, so it's not doing anything, right? Now, this case branches off and something needs to be done, right? So here you have an AI agent, which if you don't know what that is, it's just basically um, it's like if you use chat GPT and you gave it multiple choice questions, right? You say you can do A, B, C, D, E, F. Which one would you like to choose, right? And then the AI picks one of them. And then using that response that it gave you, you can go through and use that to like call some of your hard coded code, right? So for example, wow, that's a perfect circle. So for example, if the agent decides cancellation, then I take cancellation, right? And I use that to go find the code I wrote for how to handle a cancellation, right? And then my code will try it, and then it'll either succeed or fail, and that response will be passed back to the agent. And then it'll loop again, and it'll look at that response and say, okay, we successfully did it. Let's go send that email to the customer. Or it will say, oh, it failed. And then it will either try something else or it will inform the customer, right? Or maybe there's couple steps to it. Let's say the policy says it needs to refund the customer and then send a Slack notification to the team, right? So it comes down this path. The agent says, okay, we're going to refund. It refunds. It comes back in here. It looks back at the SOPs, the policy again, and says, okay, now we're going to use the Slack thing to send this message. And then it goes through and does all of that logic, right? Now, even though you did this step and you kind of narrowed it down and you know stuff needs to be done here, there's still a bunch of steps that need to be done, right? If you refund an order, you can't refund until you have all the data on the customer, right? Because you need that to figure out which order you're refunding and who's the customer and all of that stuff, right? So before you get to this AI agent part, you have a little piece in here, which I call kind of data collection, right? So you go through, you get the Shopify data, you get some of the customer's general data, enough that when you come to this AI agent, they have the customer's data, they have the policy, and they have all of the functionality that they can use, right? Now, sometimes the agent will come down to one of these tools and realize it doesn't have enough data, like this wasn't enough, right? So then you also have to give it access to all these other tools that can go and collect data to be able to make all of the functionality work, right? I'm trying to explain this simply. It's quite complex, but hopefully this makes sense. But this is pretty much the system, right? Either a response comes in, the AI needs to do logic, or it doesn't need to do logic, and then it just doesn't send anything, or it does. If it does need to do logic, it goes into this machine, which I've extremely simplified here, a little more complex, but it's definitely getting easier now. And then it goes through all this work. It figures out what has to be done. It does it, or it doesn't do it because the AI didn't have automations on for that thing. And then it either generates the response for the brand, right? So this stat, it generates the response. And then if automations are on, then it goes up here and actually automates it and sends it to the customer, right? So half of the emails that come into the system, that's what happens. The 75,000 that come in here and don't automate, it gets to here, it does all the work, and then realizes, oh, here's the perfect response. It's ready to go, but the brand doesn't want us to automatically send it. This goes here, right? If it goes through the logic, it fails for whatever reason, didn't have enough data or something wasn't available or an API changed or who knows. Then it'll go down here either into the fail case, or if automations were just off for the entire thing, it will come in here as flagged, right? So that'd be a case where the AI said, or sorry, the brand's policy said, if anything about refunding, just flag, then it will end up in this case down here. So yeah, that's where these numbers come from. This is how the whole system works. So yeah. Okay. I just quickly want to talk about the economics and kind of where the numbers came from, like where did I get 50,000 a month from. So if we go back to the numbers, you see half of the work is now done by AI, right? On 500,000 tickets in just a couple of months. That's a ton of work, right? The size of the team required to do that much volume would be massive. And obviously you don't need a team that big to scale this stuff, right? And people didn't really get cut. It's more so each person does significantly more. And when stuff's scaled up like this, the agency using the AI just didn't have to go hire a bunch of people, or they hired significantly less than they would have needed to otherwise, right? Which is a massive win. And obviously, this is cheaper per message than having humans do it. So for that reason, it saves a ton of money for the brand, right? So in savings included, it's providing well over 50,000 a month in revenue and profits and all that. But the other aspect of it, which isn't as obvious, is for this agency, this is significantly more earning potential, right? Number one, they have a new offer just offering AI, which brings in a ton of revenue, right? But number two, you can charge a little bit more because you're providing, or at least significantly more than now, the cost of goods to run it, because you're providing a better service, right? So in regular customer service before AI and all this stuff, you would usually need to wait 24 to 48 hours because each company only had a team running for 8 hours, right, during the day. And the other 16 hours when people are reaching out, nothing, right? And then if you had a lot of tickets one day, then it just starts backlogging and building up. And, it takes a while to respond to all those customers. That doesn't happen in this case. The AI within 5 minutes responds to every single message, right? Day and night, doesn't matter. And then when the brands come in and all the people start working, they only have to do 35% of the volume that they would have had to otherwise, which is a massive difference, right? And it provides a significantly better experience to the customers and hence for the brand. So you can charge a premium, right? So when you factor all of that up, I think it's actually significantly above 50,000, but I'm just saying that because I think it's a very reasonable, humble number on it. So yeah, this is how the entire system works. How I built out AI agents that are doing 50,000 a month. This is just one of the projects, not one of the bigger ones at that. But yeah, if you have any questions, leave them down below. And yeah, I'm gonna try and keep uploading these and show people kind of what's possible for AI. And the last thing, if you have a small, medium-sized business or a company or an agency, and you're trying to implement AI or need help with it, send me an email, and yeah, we'll see if we can help. So